Hello, welcome to this video. This video is going to be a slightly different setup, slightly different plan. It does look like a top 10 video, but I find top 10 videos it's a bit like, oh, let's start number 10 and you just go through them one after the other. And I've been trying to make this process a little bit more personal. And as you can see, and as I've said recently, I have been amassing all my albums together, CDs and vinyl. And I want to work from my collection so I can actually hold the albums in my hand. Now, my collection, it's not tiny, it's not massive, it's not like I've not got everything by everybody like some people on the internet. But it's a sizable collection, and the albums that are behind me I've bought over the last 40 years. What I want to do is create a series which we call the Essential Series. I actually did it last week with John McLaughlin, where I sort of went to my collection and pulled out my albums. I pulled the 10 essential albums out, but it would be much more fun if I pulled all the albums I've got by that artist out, go through them, and then in real time choose the ones that I think are essential and put an argument forth. And so anyone who's coming to this channel and go, I don't know what Chick Corea albums to buy, it would be a bit like, you know, meeting someone down the pub and they said, what Chick Corea albums would I get? And I'm going to tell you the ones that I know. I should get this one and you should get that one. Now, obviously, I own digital copies and I've listened to far more Chick Corea albums than I've got here. I think I've got 24 albums here, something like that. And these are all Chick Corea albums under his name. I haven't counted any other albums that he plays on. There's hundreds of those where he's brilliant. For example, the Miles Davis stuff in the late 60s, early 70s. I've just gone for albums under his name, but I have included Return to Forever in that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through them, tell you about each album, but much more my subjective opinion about this album. And then I'm going to either put it into the pile which is non-essential or essential. And then when we've got 10, I will then go back through it. And that will give someone who doesn't know anything about Chick Corea a few albums that they can go and check out from my point of view if they're interested in my opinion. And if you already love Chick Corea, then you could get interested in the ones I own for a start, the ones I bought as a kid, because these are the albums that influence you, you know. You could go out and buy an album when you're like 13, 14 and buy the wrong album and never get into that artist. Years later, get into them, but it's never the same as when you get that right album and then you buy into that artist for the rest of your life. And we are formed out of these decisions. And that's actually far more interesting than trying to stand back and get some sort of objective platonic idea of the 10 essential albums, because as much as it is slightly objective, it's also slightly subjective. It's somewhere in the middle. I'm fascinated by that, and that's why I'm fascinated by top 10 lists. I'm fascinated in putting my ideas out there and seeing, and they are subjective, but seeing who else agrees with them. That's the interesting bit, surely. And I'm sure you're interested to see what I say and be on the other end and then put you in the comments, I agree with you about that, but you should have checked this album out. And I'm going, yeah, I never bothered to get that album, blah, blah, blah. And also there'll be some surprises in here as well. So shall we get going? I've done 3 minutes introduction. That is the new idea. And I'm going to be doing this for the next couple of months because it doesn't require any extra content and I won't get a copyright strike. So that's the other reason why I'm doing this. Right, so let's start with the CDs I've got first. And I will tell you the essential ones and the non-essential ones. I'm also including best ofs. Best ofs are great. And when you're a kid, you buy a best of or, you know, a compilation, and then you listen to that album over and over again. It becomes an album. It is, for me, like a Chick Corea album. There's 2 albums on this list that are like that. Right, I'm going to start with this one. This is a CD that pairs a Chick Corea album with a Miroslav Vitas album. Now, Miroslav Vitas is only on, I thought he was on both of these tracks, but I don't believe he is. So God knows why these are paired. Now, the other album, the Miroslav Vitas album, is Mounted in the Clouds, right? Which I think is sometimes called Infinite Journey, is it? Anyway, this is, for John McLaughlin fans, this is like an essential album. It's got the lineup of, an incredible lineup of Miroslav Vitas on bass, Joe Henderson on tenor sax, John McLaughlin on guitar, Herbie Hancock on electric piano, Jack DeJohnette on drums, and then Joe Chambers is on drums. It's an incredible lineup, and it's very free electric jazz. It's far out. But this is combined with an album called Tones for Jones Bones, which I believe is Chick's first album, I think. This contains Lither, which is the composition that Chick Corea named his publishing company afterwards. And it's got Straight Up and Down on this. That's the main track. That's like 12 minutes. Those two. The lineup is Chick Corea, Joe Farrell, Woody Shaw, Steve Swallow, and Joe Chambers. This came out in 1968. I think it's his second album. Now, his first album, which is a piano trio album, which features Roy Haynes, who's playing on that. I haven't got that album, his debut album, but it's one of the great piano trio albums. I haven't got it. This is what you're going to learn. I haven't got that album. If I was looking out for Chick Corea album, the first one I thought was the debut, because he really states his virtuosity on this album. On this second album, it's much more about his compositions. And here, this album, Tones for Jones, has been released as Vortex. It's been released in other shapes and forms. The label hasn't handled it great. The production's not that great. It's an important album in Chick Corea's development. I don't think it's essential. I'm going to stick it on the non-essential. Right. I know the non-essential will be a small pile. I might have to pull some out of here. Right. So let's move on to the next CD I've got. An Evening with Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea. This is a great album. It's a double album. They do Someday My Prince Will Come, Liza and Button Up. They do Maiden Voyage, La Fiesta, February Moment. It was recorded in the mid-70s, I think 77, 78. This is the sort of I Love Jazz reissue. In the 80s and 90s, we got these I Love Jazz reissues on CBS. Absolutely horrible title, horrible covers, which, it's a shame, because they brought out some classic albums. Just wish they retained the artwork. Why they did that, I don't know. Now, this album has to be sat alongside some of those Keith Jarrett solo piano albums. But this isn't like that. It's much more of a friendly affair, and much more of a, Herbie and Chick, two of the greatest, modern jazz pianists, jazz fusion pianists, getting together and just playing, right? I like it. It's a great album. It doesn't feel like an essential album to me, not of Chick Corea. It's something that you go to once you've got into Chick Corea to hear how he plays against Herbie Hancock. It's interesting, not an essential album. I'm going to stick that on the non-essential album list. Good album, though. Really good. Right, this one, again, some dodgy compilation that Polydor put out. They called it Compact Jazz. They brought a whole host of these out. Now, this album pulls together stuff off Light as a Feather, stuff off My Spanish Heart. There's a Return to Forever track, couple of those. So what we've got here is Captain Marvel, Return to Forever. Captain Marvel is Return to Forever off Light as a Feather, isn't it? Sorry about that. Captain Senor Mouse, Return to Forever's first album, on Mondo's Rumba, which is off My Spanish Heart. 500 Miles High, off Light as a Feather. Love Castle, My Spanish Heart. Vulcan Worlds, which is off the second Electric Return to Forever album, Where Have I Known You Before. No Mystery, which is off the album No Mystery, Return Forever. And then Spain, which is off Light as a Feather. And that running order, which mixes a little bit of the acoustic Return to Forever, a little bit of the electric Return to Forever, and a few tracks off his albums around about the same period, predominantly My Spanish Heart, creates the incredible running order with a whole host of Chick's best compositions in the company of Stanley Clarke, Al Di Meola, Flora Purim, Aieto Maieri, Joe Farrell, Lenny White, John Ponte. This here is one of my go-to Chick Corea albums. If you can grab a copy of this, and if you find it, this sold reasonably. This is like they chucked a ton of these out and they were cheap. If you could pick one of these up, right, as an introduction to Chick Corea, this would be a great place to start. That's a great place to start. That's going to be on my essential list. I know I'm not being all proper. I know I'm including best ofs and stuff like that. But I think if you're trying to understand an artist, sometimes you need a way in. And that album, when I got that, I didn't own those Return to Forever albums. I didn't have Light as a Feather. That's how I knew those groups. That's how I could check them out. The vinyl And they weren't on CD when that came out. So that's a great album. Right, this one here is John McLaughlin and Chick Corea together in the 5-piece band alongside Kenny Garrett, Christian McBride, and Vinnie Colaiuta. They play Raju, which is a McLaughlin composition, The Disguise, which I think is a Corea composition, then New Blues, Old Blues, which is a McLaughlin composition, and then Hymn to Andromeda, Chick Corea composition. That's the first six. Then you turn it over, you got Dr. Jackal, which is a Jackie McLean tune Miles used to play. You get Sydney or CS, John McLaughlin composition. You get In a Silent Way, which is a Joe Zawinul composition, Miles Davis, and they both played on it back in, 1969 on In a Silent Way. So that's a great revisiting of that. And Herbie Hancock sits in on that as well. And then they finish up with the jazz standard Someday My Prince Will Come. This album burns. The lineup's incredible. It's live, they're taking risks, they're having fun, and they're playing. Some of the tracks on here go on for half an hour. This is amazing. Chick Corea and John McLaughlin together with Vinnie Colaiuta on drums. It's an essential album, that's the way it is. It goes on the essential list. I'm surprised myself, right? Next CD I've got is The Song for Singing, which I think is his third album. This is on Blue Note Records. It's much better recorded than Tones for Jones Bones. We've got Toy Room, Ballad, Rhymes, Flesh, Ballad 2. They do a version of Nefertiti. They do Ornette Coleman's Blues Connotation. They do a long track called Drone. This album, this is borderline. I'm going to have a borderline. Right, so Chick Corea, by the end of the 1960s, when he's working with Miles, he's very interested in free jazz. He then goes out after leaving Miles and makes these very free albums, very brittle, very intellectual in a way. He works with Anthony Braxton. He forms a group called Circle, and they do a live album called Circle Paris. I haven't got that, but that would be another one I would be suggesting could be an essential album. I've got another one to take that place, which I actually prefer anyway. And the lineup's very similar to this one. Now, the lineup here is, and I can't quite remember, it's a trio, this one is, isn't it? Yeah, so it's David Holland, Chick Corea, and Barry Altschul. This is a great album. It's almost borderline. I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to put it on the list, but I'm going to put it on the borderline in case I have to retrieve it. Right, the next one I've got up is this one. Where Have I Known You Before? This is an incredible album. Second of the Electric Return to Forever albums. Chick Corea has now got a great big synth setup. They do some insane tunes like Vulcan Worlds, Shadow of Low, Song to the Pharaoh King. Song to the Pharaoh Kings could well be Return to Forever's finest hour, except I don't like the production on this. I need to get a vinyl copy of this, or somebody needs to remaster it. I might remaster this, actually. Stick it on my Patreon, because it's an incredible album, and it just sounds middly and brittle and undefined. I don't want to put it on. I don't want to fill this up with Return to Forever albums. I'm not putting it on. I'm not putting it on. It's incredible. The playing's amazing, and it's probably the most brutal of the Return to Forever albums, but I don't know. I'm not going to put that one on. I'm really having high standards on this video, I'm afraid. Here's another one, Beneath the Mask. Now, Chick Corea's electric band is an essential 1980s band. They made some great albums, and they made some very commercial Fusac albums. This one is somewhere in the middle. This is very funky, it's fun. I like this album. There's no way it's an essential album. And also, I wouldn't want to put too much Chick Corea electric bands. It doesn't matter how you look at it and the influence they had, and that was the big fusion band, and they were on the TV, and they were a big deal. I saw them live, they were amazing. But my God, they're cheesy. Chick Corea, once he became a Scientologist in the early 70s, he moved from being a very abstract intellectual player into someone who was courting what he thought was popularity. He did this with Return to Forever, and it was very, very successful. He did it with Chick Corea's electric band. When he does it, however, you feel that he has put taste aside slightly. Not so much with Return to Forever, but with the electric band. I'll put one album in, and you can probably guess which one it will be. Right. We're on to the vinyl now. This one, Trio Music, this is a double album. I will show you inside. That's the lineup, which is Roy Haynes, Miroslav Vitous, and Chick Corea. So that's the same lineup, I believe, that he had on his debut album. The trio first played together in 1967, this is Chick Corea, on a recording called Now He Sings, Now He Sobs. Now, I tried to cover the fact that I couldn't quite recall the name of his debut album. It's called Now He Sings, Now He Sobs. I would say that's essential, except for a caveat, which we're going to get to in a minute. The meeting was brief. It took one day to make, but it was not easily forgotten. So he brings this trio back together, and they make, this is a double album. The side A and side B are basically improvisations, right? Pre-improvisations, but in terms of free improvisation, this could well be my favourite free improvisation album. The first track is broken into three parts. It's called Trio Improvisation. The second one is a Duet Improvisation. Then you get a Trio Improvisation. And then they finish with Slippery When Wet, which is just astonishing. The second disc is a tribute to Thelonious Monk. Now, Chick Corea is almost like, he has got aspects of Thelonious Monk in there. He's got aspects of Bill Evans there with a sort of Art Tatum technique. That's how I see Chick Corea. It's interesting to see him exploring the more angular compositions of Thelonious Monk. This album is just jaw-dropping, basically. It's one of my favourite albums of all time. It's recorded on ECM, 1982. Sounds crystal clear, incredible sound. Roy Haynes' drum sound is astonishing on this. This is without doubt an essential Chick Corea album. Absolutely incredible. It goes on the list. Right, another compilation album. This one here, Chick Corea Works. Now, this is how you make a tasteful series of compilation albums. These came out on ECM, and for me, the programming is brilliant. So with ECM, what you get is Manfred Eicher allows the artists to really explore something. So Chick Corea might do something with a string quartet, then he might do a solo piano piece, then he might work with a duet album with a flute player. This is how he's working. And so when you look at the ECM records, which is where Chick Corea is much more out there and creative, when you look at those, if you buy one of those albums, you're going to get one thing. So with that ECM album, the trio music, you get that trio. If you get all these different aspects together and put them all together in one album and program it correctly, it has an epic quality, and that's what this has. It opens up with addendum for violin, cello, and piano off the album Children's Songs. Children's Songs was an album he made in the early 80s, and it is like Chick's version of Microcosmos by Bartok. And Microcosmos was a series of compositions which sound incredible, very modern, classical, very modernist, but they start off incredibly easy, like a beginner can play the first composition. And if you work through Microcosmos, you can learn to play piano, and all the time you're playing incredible compositions. The secret of learning an instrument is about sounding great from day one. If you work on that, that would be the way to go. That's a whole video unto itself. Chick Corea did a similar thing with his children's songs. Very simple songs, but they sound incredible. Bartok influenced. And this album, Children's Songs, which he makes with a very small group of Chick Corea on piano, Ida Kafavian on violin, and Fred Sherry on cello, is absolutely wonderful. It's brittle, it's out there, but it's also very precise and simplistic. So it opens up with that. And then you get a tune off Piano Improvisations Volume 1. Where Are You Now? That's great. Noon Song, which is off Piano Improvisations. So you get two solos. And then you get something off Crystal Silence, one of his great albums. Then you get Brasilia, which is off his Lyric Suite for Sextet album, which is, it's him with Gary Burton and a string quartet. Absolutely incredible. Open a side two up, you get Slippery When Wet, you know, the great track off that trio music album. Duet Improvisation, which is also off that album. It's between him and Miroslav Vitous. We get an improvisation album, Piano Improvisations Volume 2, The New Place. And then it finishes with perhaps one of his most famous compositions, La Fiesta, off the debut Return to Forever album, which I find a bit noodly. I know people think it's a classic. I think if you've got La Fiesta off that, which you have here, that represents it. So this is an essential album. If you want to get into Chick Corea, you can dig one of those out. Without a doubt, that's on the list. Right, let's keep going. Right. The Griffith Park collection. This is credited to all these people. The group is called the Griffith Park collection, but I think of it as a Chick Corea album. This puts Stanley Clarke, Chick Corea and Lenny White from Return to Forever, pits them against Joe Henderson on saxophone, Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, and they basically play like a hard bop, straight jazz set. And it's all compositions. They all bring a composition in, I think, except for Joe Henderson. This is a fantastic album, and I'm going to cheat here because the same lineup also made this album, which is an album of jazz standards with Shaka Khan singing. And they do Them Their Eyes, All of Me. Now, if I was to put those two albums together, can I do that? Can I put these two together and say it's an essential? Because it is. Because it's essential, because you hear these fusion giants playing jazz. You hear Shaka Khan, the great, R&B singer, 70s, 80s, Million Seller, singing jazz. And Shaka Khan is not just a pop singer that can sing jazz. She is one of the greatest jazz singers of that era, right? This is essential. I think this is essential. I'm going to put it on, and it means there's going to be 11. I do apologise for bending the rules, but it's my show, and that's what I'm going to do. What have I got next on the list? Right. In 1976, when Chick Corea tried to pull his girlfriend, Gail Moran, which would be his future wife, as a singer into Return to Forever, just as they were about to become one of the biggest bands in the world and bring fusion to the masses, and the world could have been completely different. This band was playing arenas. They were so massive at the time. And then the band was gone because Chick Corea stuck by his guns and said, I'm not doing this unless you bring Gail Moran in. So the other three left. He then carries on under the Return to Forever name with the expanded band, and he never had the success. But at this point, this is where fusion was riding so high. So Chick Corea then has huge budgets behind his albums, and this is one of those albums. My Spanish Heart, the CBS or Polydor, this is Polydor, are providing the works. Look at the lineup he's got here. He's got Steve Gadd on drums, Stanley Clarke on bass, Jean-Luc Ponty on violin, Don Elias on percussion, Gail Moran on vocals, a vocal choir. He's got a string quartet. He's got a trumpet player, John Thomas, John Rosenberg on trumpet. He's got a brass quartet. He's even hired in one of the greatest drummers in the world, Narada Michael Walden, to do clapping. He's just doing clapping. Look at this. They've a proper photo shoot. He's dressed up as a matador. You open it up and you get all this inside, and they've hired someone to do all the copper plate writing. All this is great. This is a good album. I actually don't think it's an essential album, even though it has some of his great compositions. Love Castle. It's got Amanda's Rumba on here. It's got the Sidelong Spanish Fantasy, which is like a prog rock epic. This is a great album. But he did other albums at this period that are even greater, and I'm not going to put this on unless my top 10 isn't filled out. This is borderline. I'm going to put this on the borderline list. Why don't I like it? It's very overdubby. Chick Corea's assembled this. He's playing a lot of Moog bass on it. It sounds assembled. The compositions are great. Steve Gadd's great, but I feel that it's all hemmed in a little bit. And when I bought that album, I was prepared to be blown away as a kid. Double album of Chick Corea, that period, my favourite period of Chick Corea was Steve Gadd on drums. But it just didn't blow me away. The reason why it didn't blow me away is because I already owned another album from this period that had blown me away. And that's the one I'm going to put onto the essential list. Right, what have we got next on the list? I have Romantic Warrior. This is when Return to Forever, the Electric Return to Forever, there they are. This is when they're at their peak. They've moved from Polydor over to CBS. They've incredibly produced by Dennis McKay, although they said they produced it, but the engineering is incredible. This is one of the greatest fusion albums ever made, isn't it? It's essential. This goes on the list. Spoken about it so often. Right, here's an interesting one. Actually, I'll go ahead. Chick Corea's Electric Band. Let's deal with it. My initial intention was we got to put an electric band in. It's an essential album. Which one would it be? It's going to be that one. because Chick Corea electric band, it's got Scott Ensign on guitar, it's got a Match on, it's all the classic ones. And this was a big, important album in the mid-80s for fusion, really important. I loved it at the time. It's now very, very cheesy, right? Very cheesy, but it's great. And some of the tracks I'm playing on here is brilliant, right? That was the one I was going to put in, but it's not. What's he going to put in then? Right. This is a really weird one. I'm going to put in this one. GRP Super Live. You go, well, that's not a Chick Corea album, Andy. Well, it's not. It's a double album of a gig which was representing the awful label GRP, which is responsible for so much middle-of-the-road fusion in the middle of the 1980s, but did, you know, provide a bit of money for some fusion people in that decade. So we have to thank them for that. Side 1 and 2, the first disc on here has got a group of Dave Grusin, Lee Ritner, Chick Corea, Tom Scott and Diane Shaw, with Vinnie Colaiuta on drums, Tim Lammers on bass, Barnaby Finch on keyboards, and they do a whole bunch of different tracks from different people. Dave Grusin comes in and they do his sort of Fusaki, you know, TV theme fusion. It's got Diana Shaw, who's an incredible singer and keyboardist. This is all, the first disc is very cheesy, but Chick Corea is on it. It's quite interesting. But the second disc is the Electric Band Live. And they do Light Years, they do Rumble, they do Time Track, they do No Zone, and they do Overture. It's got Gambale on it. He actually allows Gambale to do some insane solos. It's live. It's without sort of the production that mires those albums. My go-to album for the Electric Band has always been the second one on this, so this is what I'm going to go in. This is half essential, but the other disc, which is definitely not essential, and is Chick Corea's the most cheesiest. At least you get to see him in that context, playing functionally, playing other people's tunes and all that stuff. So I'm going to put that in to represent the Electric Band. That's like an anomaly, that one is. Right, so let's get going on here. Right. Okay, let's have a go this one next. Right, another double album, right, which there's 2 discs here. The second disc has got Don Cherry on it, Albert Ayler, and there's a sidelong John Handy track, which is a very important fusion track. It was recorded in the late 60s. John Handy's really exploring jazz rock fusion on this track, If Only We Knew, which is why I bought this. The first disc has got some Chick Corea tunes, The Brain, Waltz for Bill Evans, Converge, and Vamp. And the lineup it says here is Chick Corea, Woody Shaw, Herbert Laws, Benny Maupin, Dave Holland on double bass, and Horace Arnold on drums. I don't believe that's what this is. This is a Chick Corea album, which I believe was called Inner Space, I think, and it came out in the 70s. They're playing Ferocious on it. The production's not great. It's a very similar to like Jones, you know, Tones for Jones Bones. It's great Chick Corea. I devoured this at the time because this is one of my first Chick Corea albums I've ever bought, and it was pretty out there. And I worked at it. But the album I'm going to put in to represent this sort of free period where he's playing out is this one, ARC. I prefer this to the Circle album. It's on ECM Records. It is the Chick Corea, Dave Holland, Barry Altschul lineup. It's beautifully recorded. They do Nefertiti, Ballad for Tilly, ARC, Vedana, Thanatos, and Games. This is just a brilliant album, recorded in 1971. And that's the one to get, I believe, if you want to hear Chick Corea in his pre-Scientology experimental phase. It sounds wonderful. The playing's incredible. That is an essential album, without a doubt. As is this next one. Right, you do have to have one of the piano improvisations. He did solo piano albums before Keith Jarrett. He did 2, Volumes 1 and Volume 2. Volume 1 is very beautiful. Volume 2 is out there. If you get this and Works, you get 2 tracks off Volume 1, but this is the one. What they don't feature on Works is the insanity that is on this. This sounds like a machine. Some of these tracks sound like Colin and Caro. It sounds like they've been programmed. The virtuosity's off the scale. And he does this long 4-part improvisation called Departure from Planet Earth. And I think he overdubs into it. It's 2 pianos. It's incredible. It sounds like you're in a UFO departing from planet Earth. He is pulling sounds out of the piano. It's like the Jimi Hendrix of piano playing. This is monumental. This is the Essential album. Without a doubt, Essential. It's on the list. Right, next one I've got. These two will be Essential. Right, I think, yeah, oh my God, we got some Essential albums to come. I'll tell you this now. This is my favourite Chick Corea album. When Chick Corea died, this is the one Rick Beato played. It's acoustic jazz album. It's called 3 Quartets. There's basically 3 compositions on here. Quartet number 1, Quartet number 2, and Quartet number 3. Side 1, which is Quartet number 1 and Quartet number 3, almost seems like a tribute to Coltrane, although it doesn't say that. Quartet number 2 is a tribute to Duke Ellington and John Coltrane, but the whole album seems to be a tribute to those. The lineup's ridiculous. Michael Brecker, Chick Corea, Steve Gadd, and Eddie Gomez on bass. This album's incredible. The opening Quartet 1, Michael Brecker's solo on that, it could well be the greatest solo ever made by anybody in the history of mankind. And the drumming on there is some of the greatest drumming of all time. I think it's part 2 of Quartet number 2, the drum solo that Steve Gadd does there. It's one of the greatest drum solos ever done. This is one of my great albums. This could easily be in my 10 greatest albums ever made. That's a great album. This one, which is ruined by that terrible cover. Do you remember in the late 70s and when the Jazz Fusion guys started to be all, you know, this is fun and we've been fun, and like if you can get some Smurfs on the front and you get an album like that with that typeface, it's called Friends. The lineup is the same as 3 Quartets, except instead of Michael Brecker, we've got Joe Farrell. But this album's also ridiculous. It's insane. One Step Waltz for Dave, Children's Song number 5, Samba Song, Friends. And Gadd is off the scale. I'm afraid this is also after going to go in there. That's incredible. This, if you love Quartet, this is like a fun, lighter version of that, but it's still just as furious. Joe Farrell's great. Right, this is an album that has cropped up in so many different guises over the years, because I don't think there's any copyright on it, and so people release it all the time. Chick Corea and Lionel Hampton. It's a great album. It pits, you know, the young line of Chick Corea with the old Lionel Hampton who's playing vibes on here. I don't know what the lineup is. I know Gail Moran appears and sings Come Rain, Come Shine, which is very plummy. He does a piano solo on here, which is great. Moment's Notice, which is the Coltrane tune they really blow on. Sea Breeze, which is a great Chick Corea composition. I don't know where else you'd get that. I don't know where that's from. This is actually a great album. It's recorded great. It's live. It's a great album. It's not Essential. Right, you know when I was talking about My Spanish Heart, and I said how that sort of Steve Gadd mid-period post Return to Forever when they were sticking the money and he's got these incredible lineups. The album for me is this one, Chick Corea, Leprechaun. This is absolutely incredible. And like I say, Night Sprite has probably got some of the greatest drumming ever, you know, and the big long side 2, which opens up with Soft and Gentle, goes into Pixieland Rag, then you get the 13-minute Leprechaun Dream. They actually all join up. It's like a sidelong epic. It beats My Spanish Heart. This is ferocious, furious, and it's also insane. This is Chick Corea's, you know, proggy tribute to the fairy folk. It's twee, it's silly, but within that, Chick Corea finds something that's absolutely wonderful. It's so twee and strange that for me, all this little pixie singing from Gail Moran, that's what she's great at. One of my favourite albums of all time, one of the great drum albums. Right. This one, Chick Corea, Touchstone, came out in 1982. It was a monumental album in that it brought together a whole bunch of different lineups together. So it opens up with Touchstone, which is Chick Corea, Paco de Lucia, Gail Moran, Alex Acuna, Laura de Olivia on Ganza, and the great Carlos Benavent on bass. This is exploring It's like one of those Scientology albums. It relates to some sort of ridiculous Scientology story, and it really explores the Spanish side. We get Yellow Nimbus, Chick Corea, Paco de Lucia, Don Elias. Then we get Duende, which is Chick Corea posited with the great West Coast saxophone player Lee Konitz. Carol Sheave on violin for the Mahavishnu Orchestra, Greg Gottlieb on cello, Bob Magnuson. It's very orchestrated, but on side 2, we get a track called Compadres, and the lineup is Chick Corea, Al Di Meola, Stanley Clarke, Lenny White. Yeah, this has a Return to Forever track on it, which is why I had to have it. That's followed up with Chick Corea with Alex Acuna, Don Elias. God, this is a really good example of what Chick Corea does. I got to be honest, this album, borderline. Let's see how many I've got in my list. The last one I've got from my collection is Crystal Silence on ECM Records. He had a relationship with Gary Burton that was incredible. They do some incredible tunes on here. Senor Mouse, Arise, Desert Air, Crystal Silence, Falling Grace, Steve Swallow, Jazz Standard, Feeds the Things, Mike Gibbs, Jazz Standard, What Game Shall We Play Today? Senor Mouse, Return to Forever tune. What Game Shall we Play Today? These are Return to Forever tunes. I prefer these small scale versions. This is an essential album. Right, so let's see how many we've got now. I will count through them. I now should have my essential Chick Corea albums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So without these, right, I have 10 here. They're going to go. They are definitely going to go. I've lost the Griffith Park collections. And I also have these 2 on CD. Oh God! Let's lose that one, and we're down to this one. Which one would I lose of these? I think I'm going to lose. Oh, decisions. I'm going to have to lose that because this is like Electric Fusion, but it's the way it should be done. I'm going to put, but then you don't get a Chick Corea electric band in. And that's a real testament to how rubbish they are, really. You see, the truth comes out when you do this. Let's have a I don't know whether to stick in, change my mind and stick in. The original Electric Band album isn't as good as these. So that's it. That's what I'm going to have. Right. So my essential albums would be, they're not ranked, it's pointless, would be at... 5-piece band with John McLaughlin, amazing. Crystal Silence with Gary Burton. The Leprechaun. Friends. 3 Quartets. We're missing one here. We are missing Hymn to the 7th Galaxy. Why have we not got Hymn to the 7th Galaxy? Because that's an essential album. You need 2 returns. You can't just have 1 Return to Forever. I'm going to drag out with Hymn to the 7th Galaxy. So I have just got and dragged this out of my collection. I didn't spot it when I was going through. I'm sure I've missed some other Chick Corea albums that are hidden in there. Hymn to the 7th Galaxy. Obviously, it's an essential album because if I can get through this list and then be called for Hymn to the 7th Galaxy from behind me to go, Andy, what about me? And for that to actually come into my head means that this is essential. So now we've got that added. So what are we going to lose now out of this lot? I think Friends would have to go. Is that right? Is it going to be Friends? I'm going through, nipping through it again, or shall we? No, this is such a brilliant album. I could, if I was going to keep one Chick Corea album, it would be this compilation album. So Friends is going. Sorry, Friends, because you're amazing. Right, have we got 10 now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where's Him to the Seventh Galaxy? I've got 9 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I know this is wrong, right? And I think Friends is a better album. But just so that we get a representation of Chick Corea, and even though it's a bit cheesy, but it is amazing, I'm putting this one back in, right? So this video, what I've tried to do is expose the process of how I create the top 10, put the thinking in. I feel that this is much more chaotic, but also it'll be in more interesting a way. I think I've got it. And I'm going to rank these now. Now, the best way to rank, I've found, is to start from the top down. And the trouble here, we've got greatness. A lot of Chick Corea's greatness is when he moves away from the fusion and he gets very artistic. I would say the most important album on here, it would be that one. So we'll have that one at number 1. I would say that 3 Quartets would be number 2. Leprechaun would be number 3. That is a masterpiece of fusion, number 4. Mind-blowing, number 5. A great representation of ECM, number 6. What have we got next? Crystal Silence is one of the greatest albums ever made, number 7. Piano Improvisations, number 8. ARC, number 9. Chick Corea's Electric Band, number 10. So I will now go through this from 10 down to 1, and then I might clip this as well and do it as a short. That would be a nice thing to do, wouldn't it? And yeah, this is lovely. I love holding the vinyl. I love having it in my hands. I do a different video where I'm actually holding it, and I'm kinda. It's like the albums speak to you. You go, what about me? What about me? And you start when you actually hold them there. And this one was calling at number 10. You have to have it. It's an essential Chick Corea album. So at number 10, at number 10 we got Chick Corea Electric Band. 80s Fuzak, but a very important album, and it has Scott Henderson on guitar. That's what killed it. And Carlos Rios, the guitar playing's great. Nothing against Frank Gambale. That's at number 10. I feel like a bloody cut price Bob Dylan here. At number 9, ARC, which is the trio, free jazz, out there jazz, experimental, brittle, dark, incredible album at number 9. At number 8, Chick Corea Piano Improvisations, unbelievable. If you think you heard Piano Improvisations, if you sat there with your Cole concert thinking you know it all, go and have a listen to this, mind-blowing. One of the great jazz albums of all time, one of the great duets. They are just so sympathetic to each other. Chick Corea and Gary Burton, Crystal Silence. The Works album, which really represents all those nooks and crannies of what I feel is Chick Corea's greatest artistic achievement, which is the work he did on ECM Records. Wonderful. And one of his greatest albums is this, the lineup that made his first album, Now He Sings, Now He Sobs. But this is a return to that, and it's absolutely incredible, exploring free improvisation and the music of Thelonious Monk. The debut with Bill Connors on guitar, Return to Forever. This is brutal, it's vicious, it's out there, it rips your face off, and it's one of the greatest jazz fusion albums ever made. This is the sort of mid-70s, high-budget fusion where Chick Corea was indulging his sort of modern classical Spanish influences with electric musicians, fusion musicians, and that's the best one I think of that lot. Twee fusion about the fairy folk, a masterpiece. 3 quartets, Michael Brecker and Steve Gadd, off the scale. And at number 1, maybe not artistically the greatest album he ever made, but for us fusion that is the definitive, isn't it? Return to Forever. That is the end of the video. We are done. 10 albums, we got there in the end. If you like this more chaotic format, I do, because I get sick of just having to pick an album and just do a Wikipedia speech about it. I don't like that. I'd rather, if you don't know these albums, you go, well, I'll go and check those out. If you do know these albums, you know all these facts anyway. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of months, is these type of videos. I hope you like it. If you did like it, say in the comments, Put a like on it, because that will help the algorithm. Subscribe. If you want to come and support me over on Patreon, you can. You can become a free member, or you can become a paid-up member. You can support me on PayPal. I've got a PayPal tip jar, which is great. That really helps me to keep this thing going and on up and going. I have a membership here, and the members have really grown now. I am going to start creating exclusive content for the members, right? And it's going to be properly out there. I think I can do stuff on the membership section, and those videos will also, some of them will be in for Patreon for paid as well. So if you are a patron, you don't have to go and become a member. You'll get them both, and vice versa. But those of the people who just want to stay in YouTube and just check out that stuff, that is what we're going to be doing. This is all great. I've made a right mess of my albums now. I'm going to spend like half an hour sticking them back in alphabetical order. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this chaotic approach. I do. You know what I'm like. I like it all over the place. Peace and love to you all, and keep yourself safe.